It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Go through a significant food systems transformation. We went through a digital transformation over many years. We've now, for the last decade, been in an energy transformation. I think we're just starting to enter into a significant and large food system transformation. If we make sudden and large knee-jerk reactions one way or the other, this will be detrimental to the system. And I think what we now need to do is say, okay, it's going to take 3 or 4 years maybe to change the way in which agricultural practices are done. How do we bridge that so that the farmer doesn't carry the whole cost burden? How do we build incentives in from government and change the way in which incentives are done so farmers are being rewarded for these changed practices? How do we change market demand in a way that consumers are incentivized for buying those products that will actually make the food system better overall? But we shouldn't, this is a transformation. It's not just turning on a switch and changing systems overnight.
Anger on the streets of Hambantota in southern Sri Lanka, the heartland of the governing Rajapaksa family. Farmers here say the government's move to make farming 100% organic threatens their livelihood.
The government wants us to listen to ministers, not agricultural experts. But experts say this won't work.
The government banned the import of fertilizers and other agricultural chemicals earlier this year.
Protesters in France storming the offices of BlackRock overnight as violence continues to plague Paris. It was part of large-scale protests over President Emmanuel Macron's push to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 in the name of pension reform. BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager. They work with private pension funds.
Mr. Fink's career had collapsed. He lost $100 million in a deal and had been sacked. He became determined it wouldn't happen again. Fink started a company called BlackRock and built a computer he called Aladdin. It is housed in a series of large sheds in the apple orchards outside Wenatchee. Fink's aim was to use the computer to predict with certainty what the risk of any deal or investment was going to be. The computer constantly monitors the world, and it takes things that it sees happening and then compares them to events in the past. It can do this because it has in its memory a vast history of the past 50 years, not just financial, but all kinds of events. Out of the millions and millions of correlations, the computer then spots possible disasters, possible dangers lying in the future, and moves the investments to avoid any radical change and keep the system stable.
Today I'm going to deliver 1.8 million reports.
Execute 25,000 trades.
And avert 3,000 disasters.
I'm going to monitor interest rates in Europe.
Silver prices in Asia. Droughts in the Midwest.
I'm going to witness 4 billion shares change hands on the New York Stock Exchange.
And record the effects on 14 trillion in assets across 20,000 portfolios.
I am Aladdin.
I am Aladdin.
And today, I'll find the numbers behind the numbers.
I will see the trends the models don't.
The connections.
The risks.
I am Aladdin.
I am Aladdin, and I will get the data right.
I am 25 million lines of code.
Written by hundreds of people.
Across 2 decades.
I'm smarter than any algorithm.
More powerful than any processor.
Because I am Aladdin.
Because I am Aladdin.
$14 trillion. It's fair to say that BlackRock's always been the 800-pound gorilla in the asset management industry. But at this space, you got to think, is it the 8,000-pound gorilla? Because $14 trillion is a big number, and they saw some pretty good inflows last year, almost $700 billion through the course of 2025, almost half of that, about $342 billion in the fourth quarter alone. So clearly they ended the year with really good momentum. And when you look at their earnings today, beat on the top line, expenses were down, that seems to be the...
Guys, welcome back to another DSP Perspective. I'm Elton. And
I'm Mark.
Pal.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about some conspiracy theories, or is it too far-fetched, or is it something happening to us that we're not keeping an eye on? We're talking about WEF and BlackRock, sorry.
Close.
I try to do my research, guys. I'm one of the skeptics for today, and these guys will try to convince me if there's something going on. Now, for a disclosure, I did try to read up on certain things, and yeah, maybe I might agree on certain things, maybe I might disagree on certain things. But yeah, just before we start, guys, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube pages or liking us on our videos there, make sure you do that. And we are also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever you're listening to. Yeah, check out our website. It'll be in the description below. So yeah, guys, we had some discussions earlier about WEF, BlackRock, sorry. But WEF, yeah, I knew some things about it, but you guys are going to try and convince me on certain things there?
Yeah, so a little bit about WEF in general.
Yeah.
Klaus Schwab, he was the main founder of it in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when you think about someone starting a company in 1971, it doesn't really startle much because everything is usually around the boom of the era. Yeah. But if you were to go back, he was actually born in 1938. So now the ideas, what he grew up around in Germany, maybe a lot different than what you grew up around in North America or Middle East or Asia, right? So I think that's where some of the differences are.
Yeah.
It starts off, and as of right now, Klaus Schwab is no longer a serving member of WEF for some possible scandal.
When did he start WEF, though?
In 1971.
71.
He founded in 1971, yeah.
And any particular reason he decided to start that?
So he wants businesses to be more, it's basically like creating a business, right? So when you create a business, a lot of nowadays is short-term profit, and his vision is creating a long-term values so that you could serve the interest of stakeholders. Now, there's a difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder. A stakeholder, you answer to the stakeholders, which is usually like a state of governance or a governing body or overseeing body. A shareholder is when you're actually answering to the shareholder. So for example, if you were to buy CIBC shares, someone that's managing CIBC funds has to respond to the shareholders of CIBC.
Right.
That's a shareholder.
Yeah.
Stakeholder means you would probably be responding to a government body of some sort, which is what they're trying to create, a one governing body.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
Well, we'll find out in the next few minutes, so we'll let people make their own decision if they're good or evil.
So you guys are trying to convince me they are some evil corporation, maybe? Yeah, I kind of done some basic research. For me, they seem like a bunch of tree huggers.
It is interesting. It's because their background is very odd when they say stuff like, "Oh, we'll worry about the environment and all that things."
Yeah.
So companies have to pay between $60,000 and $600,000 to get a membership into WEF.
Yeah. That's
But if you're a governing body, you kind of bypass it somehow. So now you're telling me that a company that's losing potentially $600,000 a year is going to look out for the best interest of people? That's shocking to me.
So my introduction to, when I was kind of Googling about WEF, I remember this thing that happened with Sri Lanka where the Sri Lankan government basically banned a certain type of fertilizer because it had chemicals that are harmful for humans. But what happened in the short term was the government or the economy collapsed for Sri Lanka just because the yields were not that greatest. And it seemed like they went cold turkey. They didn't do a slow introduction for this. And we put some clips before about a news clip for what happened there. But yeah, it's crazy that they they didn't do a slow introduction. The farmers themselves were saying like, hey, this chemicals are actually harmful for us, but we should have done something slow instead of just going cold turkey. And that wreaked havoc for Sri Lanka, where, the crops were not grown, and the president had to run away.
Yeah, that'd be one way of putting it. He was encouraged to depart hastily, and the Navy saved his rear end because I think they would have lynched him if they caught him.
Yeah.
They were very happy, though, using his pool.
The protesters.
The protesters, yes.
Yeah. So I know that one part of WEF that did mess it up. And, I was thinking, reading that or reading the news on that part was, did they have scientists assisting them on how to bring that in instead of just being like, hey, I'm putting you in charge. You have no idea about farming, but you're going to take care of this. And that seems like what happened in Sri Lanka, right?
Well, you have to understand the scientists that are helping them are people that are driven by an agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably dealing with, the spectrum of people that are on, the climate people, from, people that are reasonable to outright fanatics.
Yeah, there can be some people that will push the agenda because they want to be published. They want to be the famous person.
That's right. And then there's people that are fanatics, and they have their own agenda, right? They actually truly believe X, Y, Z is going to happen. And so what happened with with Sri Lanka was it was the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, already the president had been borrowing a lot of money from China doing projects.
Right.
And which he didn't have to pay for. He could have done what they call a build, own, operate, transfer. So he built this huge airport, he built this huge port. He borrowed all the money from the Belt and Road Initiative banks from China that were supporting it.
Mm-hmm.
And he started having an issue with financing because he had to pay these bills. If he had done a build, own, operate, transfer, it would have been, pal, you're building the airport. Okay, you own the airport for 25 years. You make your money, blah, blah, blah. And then after 25 years, you renovate and give the guy the key. It's his then at that point. You've made your return on your investment. You've made your money, your profits. Everybody's happy. This guy went and borrowed all this money. He wanted to do it himself. So what happened is you had this shortage of hard currency because he's being bled, right? And then again, it was also the perfect storm because the COOF showed up around the same time, and tourism vaporized, didn't show up. They lost a lot of hard currency from that.
Yeah.
So this guy goes to the WEF, and he's always going there. And they're telling him that, you're going to be the leading way. You're going to go green. We're going to get rid of the fertilizers. You just watch, it's going to succeed.
Yeah.
And he comes back, and he's thinking two things. One, I can save hard currency because he's importing his fertilizer. If he doesn't have to import the fertilizer, he's saving the hard currency, right? And two, he's doing what his taskmasters in the WEF are telling him to do. It's like, hey, you do this, 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 this. Well, we all know what happened. They did that. They stopped all the fertilizer, and then their food production collapsed. Like you said, they didn't do it incrementally, right? You cannot feed 500 million people, or 400 million people in the United States all on. If they had a country, proportionally the size of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Sri Lanka, but proportionally the size, so you shrink the U.S.
Yeah.
You have 400 million people, territory that's the equivalent, but you would not be able to feed them organically. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible.
And it sounds like it was a perfect storm for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm, but the WF was the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, whatever you want to call it. It was the thing that basically blew everything apart.
And it's not like, it seems like also, it's very common in basically our private jobs too. We always get people that are hired on they think the big things, but they are not proficient in the type of job they're doing, right? I was just reading some stats, right? So prior to this collapse, when they imported the fertilizers, Sri Lanka paid $400 million a year to import fertilizers.
See?
And then after the ban, prior to the ban, it was 90% of the Sri Lankan farmers using the fertilizer with chemicals.
Yeah.
Now, in the clip with Al Jazeera where they were talking to the farmers, they're like, yeah, these chemicals are bad, but it helps us grow our crops, right? So yeah, it should have been some kind of an incremental thing where they slowly introduced it and seen like, hey, is this working, not working? But yeah, that was my introduction to WEF a few years ago. I was like, oh, well, okay, tough luck. These guys didn't,
From what I've been reading on other sites, if you're going to go green, so let's say at a small scale, so you own a farm, you own a farm, I own a farm, we all decide, hey, our farm's going to go green, and you don't want to do chemicals, so you're going to have to do companion planting, so plants that are going to put nitrogen into the soil for you, right? So that's a natural fertilizer, right? And then what's the other thing you're going to need? Because that's also with the chemicals, bugs, right? Pests. So you're going to have to create companion plants that those pests don't like, and bring in the pet bugs that you want to eat the other bugs.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it, we're doing it now, i.e. the way the WEF told them to do it, that doesn't work. It takes time, right?
Yeah. Fair enough.
But they wanted to make him a poster child, and it was a poster child, all right. And then the stuff that that was on their site, like here, Sri Lanka, the WEF, and the curious case of this disappearing article, where the leader of the country was touting about how great this project was going to work out.
Yeah, and the crazy impact from what happened, right? So they used to spend $400 million on importing fertilizer, but because now they could not grow rice, apparently there was a 20% drop in production. They had to rely on importing it, so they were spending $450 million importing rice.
So they actually spent more of their hard currency than that just grew their own stuff.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the WEF knew they had a fiasco on their hands that they were responsible for. I'm talking just specifically just the food part, right?
For Sri Lanka.
For Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And they immediately deleted anything and everything that was related to Sri Lanka because they knew it was related to them and they did not want to have their name. And apparently about a year or so later, after people said, hey, your articles are vanishing, all of a sudden they re-put the article out, but with another paragraph or two added saying basically, it's not our fault. It's his fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Did they offer any bailout or anything at the time?
No. Nothing. Zero.
No, I think Sri Lanka is still trying to recover.
The Chinese took over the port.
Well, in that part, Chinese were always taking over stuff from even other countries.
Well, in this case, the guy couldn't pay.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't pay. So they said, okay, you're going to give us, gee, this sounds familiar from history. You're going to give us a 99-year lease.
Yeah.
Sounds like Hong Kong #2, right?
Yeah.
And they took that. The airport, I don't know, so I can't speak to it if they've taken over the airport. But like I said, he didn't even need to be put in this position. But you have these leaders around the world that think certain things, and we can pay for this. It's like, no, you can't. Okay. You should, if he's willing to pay, let him eat the bill, right?
Yeah. So in that part, I think, while, trying to get rid of chemicals was an important part. And I agree, like, even the food here in Canada kind of sucks, but we have our own logistics issues. Like you were talking before about how country's so wide, we have to preserve food so it can be shipped up north and whatnot. But maybe they were trying to do some good, but the implementation just failed. In that case for WEF.
Spectacularly.
For one country.
Yeah.
I could say, like, especially when it's your first project, it's like when you're brand new, you're doing your first business operation, it doesn't go exactly the way you planned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they just failed the nation, but hey, no big deal.
Yeah, and it's crazy they didn't help with a bailout.
Nope. Well, there's something here. It goes to their mindset. I don't know. I'm old-fashioned. I use paper, right?
Well, that's what happens when a government choose to follow a non-government agency's planning. You have to do your own planning, right? Because WEF is not a government agency.
Nope. So I know you said they started in the 1970s, right? And this thing that happened with Sri Lanka was probably 5-6 years ago, around 2021. Yeah, that's a long time. But did they implement any other type of programs where it was successful, or any type of other programs that maybe might have failed prior to Sri Lanka?
The only other things I saw was around COVID, around that time, like pushing vaccines, like making sure people have equal rights to get vaccines and such.
So that's the year following after?
Yeah. And that's about it, because they tend to be mostly in Europe till like about the 80s and the 90s.
Yes.
And then like later into the 2000s, like I would say even right up to COVID, they did not exist in North America.
So they were very below the radar.
Yeah.
So they never did any projects from the
No, they
70s
were
till
just
20.
been talking, and what they do is they get a bunch of NGOs to do front stuff for them. So here's an example.
And they will
Davos
pull-
elites warn nation states not to resist painful global transition. They said governments of individual nations should not seek to protect their own citizens. So when they're following WEF directives, they're telling you tough luck for the citizens. You're not supposed to protect your citizens.
But there has to be something more to that, right? Why are they talking about?
Because they know there's going to be painful transitions, and they don't care about people because these guys view themselves as above everybody else.
So
that's the thing.
What type of transitions are we talking about? Like, what were they trying to implement?
Well, they're the ones that are behind with a bunch of these UNDRIP in 2030. They're behind the digital currency. They're behind digital ID. They're behind this 15-minute city. And what they do is they have these conversations like you saw.
Yeah.
We all saw them talking on the side from the clips.
Yeah.
And how they're talking. And then basically they have an NGO section, and all the NGOs go there and they sit there and they listen and they all agree. This sounds like a great idea. Remember, it's compartmentalized, right? They don't show you the master plan, right? Because if you have a 15-minute city, okay, that sounds like superficially, 15-minute city is a big town. Everything you need is in your town, right? Okay, that sounds pretty good. I don't have an issue with that. But the minute you add that with digital ID, digital currency, one thing, it's like pieces of a puzzle being put into place. So
the main thing that they look into is compliance, right? Like compliance.
It's always
is
compliance.
One huge thing that they repeat on every of their documents about compliance.
Okay. So what do you mean by compliance? Because, the same could be said about...
Mr. Swallow a Pill?
Yeah.
We saw this. You talk about that.
Yeah. So compliance in the sense that they do not want to give you an option of what is good for you versus this is the model of how you're going to be. Follow it. That's their agenda of pushing because they think that that's the business model of the long-term values versus preserving values for individual rights.
Right. And I know you just said like it's all compartmentalized. It's nothing explain how they're going to do it, right? So from that clip, I remember the guy said, hey, take your pill and it will show that, hey, this person's been taking their pill. So it's something like a medical thing where I know hospitals here, when they look at transplants for kidneys or lungs, they look at your history, right? For kidney transplants, they look to see were you prior alcoholic? Are you going to be on a list taking it away from someone else? Same with lung transplant. Are you a constant smoker? Like doctors will probably say like, okay, well, you're at high risk to reoffend, to get more cancer again for your lung. We'll probably put someone else in front of you, right? So that's what medical field's already kind of doing. So from listening to that clip, that's what it sounds like, hey, if you're not taking your pills, you're not helping yourself.
Yeah, but it's also a tracking device.
Yeah, that's
the difference. It's not just one thing, it's also a tracking device. They want to know where you're going, who you're meeting, what you're doing.
And it's not just about tracking too, right? It also talks about like how much emission you could personally be contributing. So they want to scale you down to an individual level versus just saying, be like, hey, do this. Like, but how am I going to make sure Mark Schlappak is compliant? Now we have a means of tracking you to make sure that you actually comply with those, right?
I mean, the government already kind of tracks us when we don't pay taxes.
Case in point, every now and then I go on the personal carbon thing, whatever. They have like little things. So I create a character, Joe Blow, right? Say I'm Joe Blow, and what do? I'm a single guy, blah, blah, blah. I have a house. I live in the forest. I'm totally off grid, okay? I'm literally totally off grid. I generate my own power. I grow my own food. I use an electric car, or I pedal everywhere on a bike. I fly nowhere, right? Literally, I fly nowhere, right? So I'm using my own thing. I use a heat pump generated from my own power from wind and solar and just a little bit of wood. And I'm still only in the middle range of my carbon emissions. And I only eat beef once a month. So it's like, basically, this is rigged. They just want...
So I will agree with you on this carbon footprint nonsense. Definitely families or individuals are not the biggest problem. It's the
Davos people who fly around in their private jets.
It's the private, it's the industries that create stuff that because they need to make a quick buck. They don't care how they're processing it or making it, right? And if we tell them to get something that's more efficient, obviously it's going to cost more. But their next big reasonable thing is like, well, we're going to pass on the cost to the consumers. And I agree with you. Like, individuals are not the biggest carbon footprint emissions. There's no way that we're causing all this, right?
But these people, to them,
the WEF,
it's the great unwashed.
The 1%.
Yes,
I wonder if their thinking is more to the effect that if we get people to realize about carbon footprints, maybe it will make us force the industries to do that?
It's about control and profit.
Because they're not, so if you think about it, like I said, like most of the corporations are already part of it. They're part of WEF. They're paying membership fee to be part of WEF.
Yeah.
They're not going hard on penalizing corporations to be like, hey, you need to incorporate this, this, and this. And the reason they're going through corporations to incorporate most of these versus government is that's the way you can bypass the government to get into the society.
The head of the WEF now is the head of BlackRock, or Blackwater, as you say. And BlackRock,
the mercenaries
is
from Iraq,
the biggest, probably probably the biggest, or amongst the biggest of the shareholders in the Western world.
Yeah.
Right. And because they're in charge of the WEF, the policies there go to BlackRock, and BlackRock, through its shareholders and its boards of directors, enforces all of those little policies into those corporations.
Yeah,
that they dominate.
Right. And BlackRock has like $14 trillion. They have a little AI software, which comes up to our first episode. If you guys haven't seen that, go watch that. They have an AI software called Aladdin that helps them create profits through the stock market, probably stock market manipulation too.
They do stock market manipulation. I'm quite positive of that.
But we'll circle to BlackRock in a little bit. But I know the CEO is with WEF.
He's the head of the WEF.
He recently took over, right?
That's right. After Klaus, the Dr. Evil, has basically had to depart due to, let's say he had some issues.
Some issues with some emails, maybe, in the American government?
Yeah, well, that, and also some emails and how he treated his staff, telling his staff to withdraw money and such. But a few months later, WEF conveniently had their own internal investigation and they cleared his name.
Of course they did.
Good to go.
Well,
they investigated themselves, yes.
That sounds like
Toronto Police.
That's another episode you guys should watch. I'm plugging in all our episodes. It's all related. But that's interesting. So WEF has some policies. 15-minute cities you guys were talking about. I did read a little bit about it.
So they're huge into like the AI growth and push of that. Now, we talked about like Aladdin back in the days, like 2008, the savior of the U.S. economy and all that. And they're still into 2026. Their vision is still the AI growth. So now remember, these are the people that are worried about three things, right? Environment, social, and governance. So a data center consumes about 5 million gallons daily of water.
Yep, to cool down the systems.
One. That's about a rough city that has about 10,000 to 50,000 people. Right. Now, life on planet, as we know, is only sustainable by water, not data.
So, I mean, we have the Pacific Ocean we can drain, so I'm okay with draining that. We can probably find that MH370 that disappeared.
Well, probably. A few other things.
Aliens, maybe.
Yeah, like it makes sense, but like to me, simple math makes more sense versus complicated stuff. And the ex-prime minister of Norway, who's also gotten a scandal with the unnamed person in U.S.
He who shall not be named, but had an island.
Yeah, he was the ex-CEO of Nestle.
Yeah,
he was also the former. Was the former CEO of WEF. Guy drilled millions and gallons of water a day for Nestle. Had no problem selling it to all over the world.
Oh, they in the United States, they were out buying up water rights anywhere and everywhere, and then people in a lot of rural areas all of a sudden had no more water.
Yeah.
Because Nestle was buying it up.
But how is that you made profit as a Nestle CEO and then now you're like, oh, I'm part of WEF. I mean, good to the world. I find it very hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So for sure, I know Nestle had some bad rep a few years ago, especially for the water part, because I think they were trying to go into a different country and be like, this is now ours. And the country's like, no way, it's yours. This is part of our natural resources.
Well, that caused a revolution in Bolivia a few years back. So these European companies, I do not know if Nestle was part of it, but whoever it was, they were buying up the water rights. And so the population started to take rainwater. They said, okay, we have rainwater, not a problem. We can survive.
Yeah.
And then these companies got all offended, and they had the army and the police go after people that were harvesting rainwater. It's basically you're forcing them to buy this guy's water.
Yeah.
Hence a revolution came, and that was the end of those guys. They were like, him and the government, the country they came from, were punted. So all their assets were seized.
Yeah, so Nestle had an issue with us in Ontario where they tried to take it from the Six Nations and not paying the due fees. So that was one of the issues there, and along with the US as well. So yeah, that's another negative for WEF for sure. Nestle particular.
Yeah, where's the ethics in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget the you'll own nothing and be happy.
Oh, that's
now their giant corporations are buying up all the housing in the United States, especially.
So the question for me always comes every time I read it. I'm like, own nothing, be happy. So who owns everything?
They do.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is an asset stripping. This is basically an asset stripping. They're going back to the feudal times, if you think about it. In the feudal ages, before the Black Death happened, everybody, the majority of the population was stuck in villages serving their lord, their master. And it was all over the world. It wasn't just in Europe. There's just different forms. Changed names, different forms, the same thing. The Black Death, by removing the surplus population, literally it was a surplus population, it removed it, then all of a sudden people had value, right? Especially people that had skill sets, they had trades. They just left those villages, and other lords started actually paying them, because otherwise they're going to get nothing built. So they actually had to pay these guys. And hence began the middle class. And then the middle class began, the Renaissance began, stuff started happening in the towns and cities, and then the country started to drain out. Right? And then the European feudal system finally collapsed in the late 1800s. I mean, it had been morphing, but it was after World War I, all those guys that left the old estates, they never came back. Yeah. If they survived, they went to the cities and they got jobs. They said, I'm not going to work for Lord Ha-Ha over there, right?
Yeah.
So WEF.
They want to return to that. That's what it is. If you look at what they're doing, they're returning you to that.
Right.
So just read about their meat consumption, alternate protein, and all that stuff. There's a bunch of interesting articles. I mean, like they have it openly in their page for anybody to read.
I remember reading or hearing,
but they'll have organic farms. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I remember hearing about consuming less meat, and I kind of found it weird that it started happening. That's not like a thing that's been going on for years. That just happened recently as well, right?
Well, because certain people like Bill Gates and other people along that line, they've been investing very quickly and very generously into these where they make synthetic meats. And in some of the cases, the meat is actually coming from a cancer tumor. So this is where you're getting
you said about Bill Gates. So obviously we all know he promotes the insect protein that's sustainable.
Of course, that he would own.
And some of the stuff that he's invested in is Upside Food. It's lab-grown, USDA approved for chicken. All Things Bugs LLC. It's for cricket powder. Agri Protein.
And when you get sick, he's the big investor in pharmaceuticals.
Agri Protein using larvae, Aspire Food Group. And Aspire Food Group is a cricket production company. So,
well, if you have larvae and you feed that to chickens, that's fine, because chickens eat larvae. They eat bugs. That's normal, but they want to feed us the bugs. That's the difference.
Do you guys remember Loblaws was selling something like that?
Yeah, it didn't last very long, did it?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, there are some Asian countries that do specialize in this, so we're not saying anything against them. It's just an acquired taste for us, maybe. But I never tried it, so if I tried it, maybe it's good.
Yeah, like the thing that shocked me the most is like they say like, oh, you can eat up to like one red meat meal per week. That's eventually what they want to do, and by 2030 or 2050 actually, 2030 to 2050. And some of the data, like you talked about, like scientists giving data, it's like it shocks, because right now the current population of the world is like 8.3 billion.
Yeah.
they predict, like when they say they, not WEF, they think that the body of human population is going to grow up to like 11.2 billion. So the growth is not like that significant growth, but WEF think that people are going to get wealthy, they're going to consume more by 2050. And I'm like, I don't see the economy going that side anytime soon.
All the economies and the governments that are influenced by the WEF are going down the toilet.
Yeah.
And as of March 10th, our economy is really going downhill. Thank you, certain countries in the Middle East.
Right. And like, it's even interesting to see, like, okay, now we'll talk about like not eating meat. Like 1 year of one person not eating a meat is the same as the plane from London to Bangkok and back.
Now, to be fair, are they talking about anything else? Are they talking about chickens? Are they talking about fish, seafood? Or is it just red meat?
No,
this one was about red meat. Like I took that part out, but there are different variation. Like if you eat like other white protein, it's a different allotment of how much you can consume.
Right.
But now back to the question we're talking earlier about compliance. How are they going to know if Schlappak only had one share of red meat unless you have those capsules inside you that tracks what you're doing?
Mark, unfortunately, doesn't eat red meat. He's a vegan.
Oh, yeah. That's
right. But, okay, so red meat, maybe the counterpoint to that would be, because it does take up a lot of farmland to grow stuff, right? And growing that it takes a lot of work. You got to cut down some parts of the forest, or you got to take out some parts of the land to grow meat there.
In our state, these people don't believe in the nation state. They believe they're above the nation state.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at nation states, Canada, our country, for example, because we're in Canada.
That's why they're red and white, actually orange.
Literally, we have enough land that we actually export beef. We export pork. Chicken is because it's a controlled production system. That's why we have shortages from time to time, because if people's demand of chicken goes up, they'd allotted so much production, right? But the thing is, we're more than sufficient. And the way it works in the world, too bad, so sad, if you're having 50,000 kids and you're in a country that is desert, well, that's on you. That's not my problem. I'm sorry.
Right, they would have to import it, which we all make money off.
That's right.
We
export a lot of food.
Yeah.
So going back to the same point, like what I was talking about, like having limited meat amount and stuff. So if you were to fly in a private plane for 1 hour, it's the same as one person not eating a meat. They had 709 private jets that flew into Davos just this year. And the funny thing about Davos is it's such a small airport. You land, you literally have to drop your passengers off, and you got to take off and fly back to another close by airport to like park.
Right.
So I feel like that's a lot more wastage than one person not eating meat.
So what's their reasoning for trying to limit meat? Are they trying to say it's healthier for a person, or is it just...
No, it's just control.
That's such a weird thing for them to control, because that's
food. You control food, you control people.
Well, so far it doesn't sound like they're controlling seafood or chickens.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But that's why they're trying to. They want to. If you can crush the traditional agricultural industry, then they have manufactured product. And if you have manufactured product plus, then like I said, it's not one thing. It's one thing built on the other. And in the end, they will get you, even if you don't want to comply, your money will disappear. The banks will just freeze your assets. The government will just freeze your assets. Yeah. And you know why we know that? Because our government did an illegal act during the protests, and they illegally ordered the banks to illegally freeze people's money. And this has been going to court, and the government lost because they had no writ, no crime had been committed, right? And the bank said, ready, I ready. So when they have a digital currency, all the government has to do is go, that's it for you, buddy.
Different episode about that protest, maybe, yes or no. But we'll circle back to the digital currency and whatnot. But I was just looking up the beef industry in Canada. The revenue is about 34 billion, billion with a B. And apparently exports value up to 7 billion for cattle, calves, beef, and veal. So that's pretty good.
Why would we change that? Why would we cut it down? Who's going to benefit?
So has any government tried to implement that we know of?
Not yet. So the most changes that anybody that was more interested in WEF and understanding and accepting of those ideas was Trudeau. Obviously, he's not around the picture anymore,
Well, Trudeau was a guy that goes for the lowest hanging fruit to be like, please the certain groups, and then he'll change his mind to appease another set of groups.
I actually think more so the other way. I think he was targeted by WEF.
He was.
Because he was a young leader.
He was a young leader from the WEF. He was cherry picked.
Yeah.
Because he's stupid.
It's not just that. It's more so about.
But he is stupid. We can agree on that. He is stupid.
They wanted someone that's going to carry on the legacy for the future. So you needed more young leaders versus like someone that's born in the 1937 telling me how to live my life.
Which apparently worked because Trudeau was a young leader. So
yeah.
So he tried to implement some stuff as a...
And his handlers were Krista Freeland,
yeah,
who was on the board of directors of the WEF, and our current Fuhrer, Mark Carney, who is a director in the WEF. So he was Trudeau's advisor. So all the fiasco that we had under that idiot, right, basically was advised by Krista Freeland, who was the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, and Mark Carney.
Wasn't he the advisor of Trudeau?
They were his advisors.
Wasn't he also a financial advisor to the Harper government that saved us in the 2008 economy?
No, he was I believe he was still with the Bank of Canada. He was at the Bank of Canada, but then he became a director later on with the WEF.
Okay. A lot to unpack there. So, yeah, if we were to talk about politicians, definitely someone of a younger age should be there instead of older people, that I agree on. The part about digital currency, like, what's the example? What are they trying to do?
Control you.
No, I understand. But, like, what? It's no more physical notes? Is that what it is?
That's it.
I mean, I kind of use my credit card all day. I don't carry cash.
Yeah, but the thing is, you still have the ability to use cash, because when they have digital currency, right, they can just create and not create with an
infinity now amount of money.
And they can control you, because right now you can still go to the bank as long as you have cash in the bank.
Right.
You can take cash out. And some people prefer to work with cash, especially the minute you leave the cities. Okay, people in the rural areas prefer with cash, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, with a digital currency, the government doesn't even have to tell the bank to seize your account or freeze your money. They just go hit a button and that's it. You're gone. All your money is vaporized. That's it.
Yeah, if you like read online about the Great Reset, like it's on WF page, like a 40, 50 page document, you go through them. It's clearly outdated what their agenda is. It's not like it's something closed doors where he said, she said.
And why do they want to freeze your money? Compliance.
Yeah.
For their other agendas.
One of the interesting person that I read about in the 2026 Davos was actually Matt Damon. Like, one of the semi-positive things that I actually read about was he started a company called water.org. They basically provide a loan system for water and sewer for people that needs help. And,
a loan? Okay.
A loan. But obviously his partners and other companies that lends the money, but it seems to be a better option for people that can't afford it. So I won't bash them for all of it. At least some people had some sort of semi-decent incentive. So
he may be honorable in what he's doing. I mean, personally, because they have a lot of in the third world, they have a lot of microloans, they call that. And they found that the dirt poor people actually do try to pay you back, right? And they do have a pretty high paying back rate.
One of them was
the rich guys that have a tendency to declare bankruptcy every 5 seconds, because to them it's just business. Yeah. They're not personally going bankrupt. It's their front company goes bankrupt, and they burn everybody. They don't care. And that guy bankrupts, and who pays?
Yeah, so the person that created the microcredit loan was a Bangladeshi named Muhammad Yunus, and he won the Peace Prize in 2006.
He became a billionaire too.
Did he?
Yeah, with his microbank.
Well, if people are paying off, you don't have to be that, greedy. But everyone is. Yeah. But circling back to Matt Damon, we're judging him that he's doing something good because he's helping the people.
Yeah.
But then when we look at Bill Gates, people judge him saying he's trying to control us.
Yeah, because he is.
Because I remember when he started this initiative at the malaria nets, so to speak. And apparently the malaria cases did drop in Africa. And when I went to India to visit, it was such a common feature to have in hotels. I was like, I didn't get bit by mosquitoes. So on the one hand, we look at Bill Gates and we say he's a evildoer, which is the funniest thing about the email thing. And I'm like, this guy got disease doing prostitutes. Like, you would not think from that geek. So circling back, we look at Bill Gates as the evildoer, but then we have Matt Damon, but we don't look at him as an evildoer yet.
Yeah.
Because the reason is
it's just the entry point.
There's nothing has shown up yet that what he was doing has can turn into being evil.
Yeah.
Whereas Bill Gates has been sued in a number of countries. I'm not saying that he's guilty. I'm just saying he's been sued for basically crimes against humanity, genocide, for his vaccine failures, because he's been using other people as experiments.
So So to the vaccine failure, I remember reading the news about that, and it turned out it was just a bunch of coincidences. Now,
sure,
is it one of those coincidences that's like, wow, too hard to miss? But they were doing vaccine trials in a country, and certain people passed away, not because of the vaccines, but from the death certificates, death by a family member, road accident, all that other stuff. Right? So
he died from the vaccine while he was driving down the road, yes.
My point being is when people do good stuff and they're doing pretty good, it comes to a point maybe people start hating us because, hey, this guy's on the news too much, always doing too good. Could that be it?
He's just a philanthropist, right? Like, he always wants to be upfront doing stuff, but is it for its own good?
I mean, I get the vaccine thing. He has a company. He's invested. Of course, he's going to promote it.
Yeah.
But he influences through the WEF. He also influences the WHO by bribing them. We know that he's been getting caught doing that.
So, doing all that,
according to the press,
right? Doing all that doesn't change the fact that other people also do that. I guess because he's more famous.
That's why he's known. People know this guy.
He's known that people target him for right or bad reasons. I don't know. But let's say the vaccine was a control agenda. I haven't seen on the news that a lot of people have died. The one thing from Asia was probably...
There's reports now. You see, you have to look at the excess deaths. Yeah. And the deaths that they've been increasing. And they said something would be within 5 years after the people took whatever, XYZ, that the death rate's going to go up and then it's going to plateau. And then it also depends what vaccine you took. And what vaccine you took was determined by where you live. Yeah. Something tells me you're going to have increased death rates in, let's say, subpar economic zones.
Yeah.
Right? And then wealthy zones, you'll have less death rate increase. Let's put it that way.
So, okay, let's delve into the conspiracy there, right? Like, okay, they're trying to control the population. He's getting rid of people from a certain area.
Well, Bill Gates said he could reduce the population by 10% through vaccines.
Did he?
Yes. He's actually on TV saying it.
I'll have to look that up.
Now he's trying to deny it, but it's right there. People keep on showing. Here's the clip.
Yeah. No,
that's not what I meant. Here's the clip.
But let's say they are controlling the population and they're trying to reduce it. If everyone's agenda is to make money, or is it something else?
It's not that. See, they don't want the middle class dead. Because the middle class are the ones that work and can buy stuff that they produce and they own. Right?
So the lower class,
they want to get rid of the guys that they consider the drain on society.
The one that gets handouts for services?
The one that gets handouts for services all the time. Right.
So my main thing, I would say, the only thing for me about WEF is none of the people there, because they're elected. Like, even for us, let's say, like, if we voted for a Canadian Prime Minister, whether you like it or not, like, we have our own ways of going, right? Now, why are we going into, like, a different way of thinking, which we're not used to, which doesn't really, like, benefit much from us? I understand if you're building, like, trade partnership, which is different, but when you put the top 2% of companies that makes the most trillions of dollars and you have them up there with the politicians, and you're going to say the best results are going to come from here, I don't think so.
Well, maybe a counterpoint to that is, right, let's say Warren Buffett, right? Yep. He's nifty with his stocks. Mm-hmm. Old school in the sense he doesn't use the Aladdin AI. And
he just has enough money to manipulate stocks.
Yes, that's true. So I know a lot of people kind of keep an eye on what he's doing in the sense that they want to copy how he invests so they can kind of make money, right? So I wonder if the WEF is getting all these people in or trying to get them to copy them because they have had success.
So that's where I would say BlackRock and Larry Fink comes in. Because Larry Fink is one of the most, I would say, the biggest asset manager in the world.
Yeah,
like
but they're not as smart as Warren Buffett. From me Googling it, it seems like they had AI help them out.
So it's not about having who's the...
They have the resources and they have force.
So it's not about who's the most successful. So if you were to go trade by trade to see who's the better trader, yeah, 100% probably Warren Buffett would come in. But WF wants someone that has a similar ideology that someone's going to carry on their torch further. That is Larry Fink. Because if you actually look into the history of Larry Fink, who he was and how he got to who he is, it's about power and not willing to give up. Like some people say the ego. I don't say it's ego because I don't like to say it's ego when someone wants to do better.
Yeah.
Like at least that's me. So he's always the person that wants to like outshine what he currently is.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people that you can't say like he's achieved. He's an overachiever. Like he wants to keep going. So
I know.
it makes sense.
Even the 2008 crisis, a lot of things came out, especially Bernie Madoff and other crazy CEOs that they were just buying on a spree because they could. And it's wild that
Bernie Madoff was a Ponzi scam.
Yeah, and how much money did he make, right? And my point being is, to your point, where people just keep buying to make money. No one wants to stop, which is wild. They don't stop at a certain point. They're like, no, let's keep making it. Just like Elon Musk, right? He's crazy with his money,
but he's driven. See, like Elon Musk, was it PayPal that he started?
He invested with PayPal. Nothing was his original idea.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he was there at the beginning
for PayPal. Yeah,
with something with PayPal, and he made a fortune on that. And then he created Tesla.
No, he took over Tesla from two original owners.
Okay, but he's taking over. He's developing Tesla, but Tesla is a tool. Tesla was to raise money for his rocket program because he wants to go to Mars and settle Mars. That's his vision. That really is his vision. And everything's been a tool to get him from point A to point B. Because he tried to unload, remember, $50 billion of shares in Tesla? Basically, he wanted to divest himself from Tesla because he wanted to put his money into his rocket thing, which, by the way, makes a deal with the U.S. government.
You know what else he wants to do on Mars? He wants to have some underage people there. So,
really?
Well, he's on
another island.
He's on the files, guys. What do you think he's going to do on Mars?
I actually been like, haven't been looking at it because I feel like everybody's on it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a break.
So on the files, a person that's not going to be named, he emails the person saying, hey, I loved your party. When are you going to have the next party? I really want to come. And the person who's not going to be named because the algorithm will download our videos there, talks to someone else saying, Elon Musk, in no uncertain terms, Elon Musk is a weird guy. Can you believe that? The guy who runs...
Well, he's autistic.
The guy who runs, underage things is, and that's in a weird part itself, is saying Elon Musk is weird himself. But my point being, and I was just joking, he's going to use Mars for his other stuff, not really for humanity, right? I don't think he believes in most of the stuff he sells anyways.
No, I highly doubt it. I think, like I said, I think he's been using it as a mechanism to do what he wants to do. He wants to get to Mars and he wants to expand from there. Because think about this logically if you're a businessman, right? You get to Mars. That in itself, you get to Mars. What is near Mars? The asteroid belt. The asteroid belt with hundreds of trillions of dollars of gold and platinum in there. And from there, you can mine that. Because if you have the ship to get to Mars, the asteroid belt is within grasp. So you just go there. That's what I think is his end state.
Even like from Tesla to today, everything he did was very business structural. Like, he was very motivated in knowing what he wanted. He didn't care which side of the government he sided with. He didn't care, like even WEF, like he's part of them saying like, hey, and WEF openly is like, hey, let's explore life on Mars, right? So now also he's building the rich, wealthy contacts that's going to give him the money to be like, hey, push through. Not saying that he needs the money, but...
but he's also not stupid. Why should I use my money when I can use their money?
Other money,
Besides, once I get to Mars, who cares about them?
Just to a small tidbit about the asteroid. So it is a real asteroid. It's called asteroid 16 Psyche, and it's estimated to have 700 quintillion worth of metals, including gold and nickel.
You see? This is what I think is his end state.
Okay, so maybe that's his thing to get more rich, quintillion dollars. Okay, but coming back to WEF, digital currencies, digital IDs.
That's for control of the peasantry.
I mean, don't the government already kind of control us? They can pull up our...
Not to this extent.
How so? Like, they use our driver's license, they can see our history.
No. This is a different.
So there's a difference between, so let's just say you drive a red light camera because you were tired or you didn't give a shit, whatever the reason might be.
Yeah.
You go home, you have a bill saying, hey, there's a $400 ticket, Mr. Elton, for not stopping at the red light on so-and-so intersection.
Yeah.
Now, when they have control of everything, they will tell you, be like, hey, Mr. Elton, you didn't stop at this light at so-and-so intersection, so withdrew $400 from your bank account versus asking you to pay for it. There is a difference.
And then the other thing is, we're not going to let you drive your car anymore. We're just going to turn your vehicle off.
I mean, to be honest, it's still, like, you have to understand that it's still in the infancy stages of being exploited by government by their own version.
Yeah, so what you're saying is this idea is being thrown out there.
So what we're saying is
different things in different places.
So they're trying to throw something at the wall, see what sticks.
The ideology, I think some of it is very extreme, and they want to see which government will take the dive in to try it.
See, the British love controlling their people. They just love it. So they're doing 2-3 things. Number one, Oxford, I think it's Oxford, don't hold me to that, but they're doing the 15-minute city with the cameras, with the AI watching you. You are only allowed to leave so many times a year before you start getting billed heavily because of the carbon you're creating, blah, blah, blah. And people outside can only drive into the city so many times a year before they're not allowed. They can go on a ring road, but they can't come in, right? So basically, it's a control system mechanism. You can't leave. It ends up with you can't leave, right?
Right. So coming to your point for UK, London, I did see an article about outside of London, if cars are coming in, they will be taxed for using their car. And the claim was obviously for pollution and whatnot. But I that was so many years ago, I didn't see an update if they're...
But now they're rewilding the farms. There's Jeremy Clarkson, who was involved for years with BBC or ITV. I don't know which one.
BBC. Top Gear.
Okay, Top Gear.
Yeah.
He now has a farm. And he actually came on TV and was saying, and we're going to come full circle back to Bill Gates. One of his entities come up. These rich guys are buying the farms all across England. And they're rewilding the countryside, right? So what they do is they actually walked up to him and he got a letter apparently for some law firm, and he just ignored it and tossed it in the trash. Then another one finally came in a couple of months later and it said, we're going to offer you X amount of millions of pounds for your farm. And he said, well, that's actually a lot more worth than what my farm is worth, right? He said, but I said, no, I'm not interested. And then it went up. And then it went up. And then they eventually, if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to watch it again, but he said they offered him something like over 100 million pounds. And it was a letter personally from Bill Gates for his land. He said, I took the letter. I said, no, but I took the letter and I mounted it on my wall because it was signed by Bill. He says, why does Bill Gates want my land that bad? And he said, then I got the threatening letters saying, if I don't sell to Bill Gates, they're going to do all this stuff around my farm to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
So I just did a quick Google search. So apparently, as per Clarkson, he said there was no offer for his farm.
Then why was he saying that on TV?
Yeah, he said that was the reports of a takeover bid was censored. So I think he said bullocks, and the story circulated early 2006. The sale off the Oxfordish farm. Yeah, the story stemmed from an AI-generated YouTube video and social media posts.
Another AI, sure. Yeah,
that's as per him on Yahoo News.
Maybe this is the AI generated. That's for him on the news. That's the problem with AI.
But I'm not going to say parts of your story is not completely out there, because there are farms that are being bought in North America by corporations.
Of course they are.
Oh yeah.
But my counterpoint to that would be, back in the days, it used to be easier to operate farms, right? And a lot of kids nowadays, they're like, I don't want to live the farm life. I'll probably go to the city and live my life. And, there's no one else to take over the farm. And pal, maybe you can speak to like properties in India, like my family owns properties in India, and I haven't been back there since, well, 2013, and it's 2026. I don't want anything to do with that property. It's not a farmland, but same thing. I have property there, and
so luckily for us, because we have the citizenship, that's the one thing we can own is farmland. But if you are a citizen of Jamaica and you also happen to be a citizen of Canada, you can have farmland back there. But to your point, like the farm in like different countries are different, right? Like here, you have your house and then your farm is behind.
Yeah, it depends where you are, and what kind of land you have.
So it's very convenient for a lot of people, like especially like us, when you're like millions of miles away, like it's not happening. So a lot of people tend to like sell.
I kind of, no, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I was going to say like people do sell and then move to the city, follow their dream, right? So it does happen. And we're at that stage where we're in a cultural shift where we're seeing like, oh, like even like in society, like India mainly, like if you say you're a farmer and you're gonna get married to a girl, you're like, nah.
Same in China. Are you a farmer? Oh yeah.
But the farmers here, they make crazy money. But I kind of agree that the takeover of farms in North America is a takeover for corporations to make more profit.
Yes.
Right? In the sense that they're like, well, today, because it's going to be like a monopoly, just like Rogers, TELUS, whatever. It's going to be like a big three farmlands, and they'll be like, hey, let's sell this meat for extra.
They made a movie in the early 70s.
Yeah. I wasn't born then.
No, you weren't born then. But it was called Rollerball.
It was only 30
It's
years
not
old.
the piece of garbage that they made in the 90s or early 2000s. It's the original one.
Yeah.
And the guy, Norman Jewison, was a Canadian guy that was directed it. And he said that movie would not be made today.
Mm-hmm.
And because what happened in Rollerball was a future where you had a handful of corporations controlling the world. Eventually there became Energy Corp.
Yeah.
Food Corp. If you think about what these guys are doing and those big corporations and BlackRock and that, it's very similar. They're basically trying to make it, unfortunately for them and their megalomaniacal ideas, they don't control the world. They control the Western world, which is actually a very small part of the world. Which is why they're desperate to break up Russia, desperate to get rid of the communists in China. You know, they're pushing these issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want those resources, and then they can dominate the earth.
I mean, yeah, that I feel, especially in North America, definitely they are trying to. Because I've seen news reports where families have said like, "Hey, these guys have offered us a lot of money to buy our farms," but it's corporations just trying to take over and be like that. I personally believe, yes, they are trying to make more money off us.
No, I understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
From their perspective, if you're in a good area for farmland where the land is pretty good and this and this and this, I see the logic in what they're doing financially.
Mhm.
It makes sense, right? So for instance, if I wanted to have a farm, personally, I'd be up north more in the Canadian Shield because what I would want to grow can grow up there, right? And it's not conducive for Bill Gates and corporation to come in here and say, I'm going to take your little farm over. It's like, you want rock? Okay, more power to you, dude. Right? That's not going to suit their robots and the machines that they're planning on, right?
Yeah.
Southern Ontario, where you got nice flat lands, yes, I can see them going gangbusters down there. The prairies, oh yeah.
Wow.
Because already the farmers themselves have 10, 20, 30,000 acres, and they're barely breaking even.
Yeah.
Because the soil is so crap, but they have to grow huge amounts just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I know farming is like a huge sector, but for us, we have farmers that don't have enough farming land. And if you're a neighbor, say you're my neighbor, and you don't use your 200 acres of
They
land,
lease it off.
yeah, lease it out, and then they use it.
Yeah,
So
because he doesn't want to do it, and you want to do it, so they may come to an agreement.
Yeah.
that might be diminishing soon. Let's see.
We all know one guy. He was worked with us, and then he became a supervisor. But I think he was a supervisor after we left, because he stayed with the other company at the airport.
Okay.
Kevin.
Oh yeah. Kevin.
His son inherited his farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his mom's late husband, his second husband, inherited his farm. So he got two farms, and apparently he's leasing other land from other farmers. So he's doing very well for himself, but that's his thing, right?
Yeah. It's hard to find people that will go into old school roots like that for farming, right? Because kids nowadays, it's like, let's be an influencer like us, maybe. But again, it's like a status thing too, right? Like farming here can make good money, but some people look down on you, it's like, oh, you're a farmer? Oh, okay. That's also living out in the sticks, right?
Yeah.
Some people love living in the city.
I love being on the sticks.
Same here. If I had the choice, I would.
I think Powell would have no issue living in the bush. See? But then again, we're all of a certain mindset.
Yeah. So that's funny part.
To be fought in the future, off the grid with the DSP group.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
So before we switch to the next topic, Mark, since we had so many wars, between what war and the following war were you born in between, so we can roughly know what your age is?
Well, I was born during the Vietnam War.
Ah, so close.
So close.
Right? and I was, when the South Vietnam collapsed, I was almost old enough to join the U.S. Army to go fight in Vietnam.
Hey, maybe you can join now and go into the Middle East there.
Nope. Actually, we had a conversation today at my work, and I said, this is a good opportunity for us to go over there and do X, Y, Z. And then the operations officer said, Mark, would you go? And I looked at him and I said, if the pay is enough, right? And staff officer position, yes. Grunt, no.
So switching back to, the Larry Finkel's BlackRock and WEF connection. How I know he's now taken over for WEF in the interim.
Nope. The interim co-chair.
He's interim?
It's interim co-chair.
All right.
So with BlackRock being the interim, whatever, now I guess they're kind of aligned because he'll probably push policies for BlackRock.
Obviously.
Yeah, they already started implementing some of the eco-friendly policy, which most corporations do anyway. But I think there's more to follow to that.
Yeah.
Is there, I know we were talking about WEF they're trying to implement these crazy fantasies that could be deemed as evil, maybe, right? But what's BlackRock been doing that you could say is crazy as same as WEF?
So remember when you talked about monopoly?
Right.
What would you think of monopoly within a monopoly?
Yeah.
As in, these guys don't say like, we own Walmart, but they own enough shares in Walmart where their ideas is being pushed. And it's not just like, so a bunch of key holdings that they have is Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Nvidia, JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard, Walmart, Coca-Cola.
So basically they own the whole world.
Everything in the Western
Real
world
estate.
that generates a lot of money.
Don't forget real estate.
They're big. They're buying 1/3 of, for industries like them, are buying apparently 1/3 of all new housing in the U.S.
So their basic model is to acquire the shares in the company to influence operation, not solely for just a short-term profit, which is kind of similar to what WEF does. It's not about short-term, it's about the longevity of stuff, which is why they have similar mindset on to run.
So these guys are worth apparently $13 to $14 trillion.
Yeah.
So breaking down that math.
Oh, let's go back. They were valued at $1.3 trillion in 2008.
And somehow now they're at $13 trillion.
Well, they have a lot of U.S. various governments' money, pension funds have been invested with them. Trust me, they can be taken down quite a few pegs if the government's pulled their pension funds out.
So what they did was
apparently they let the U.S. government use their AI, the Aladdin AI, to help them steer the economy to a better thing from 2008 crisis.
Yeah, and it's not just that, it's the actual U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to analyze, manage, and unwind all risk-based assets,
So
which is like mortgages.
For the people listening and asking, what's this Aladdin AI about? So Aladdin AI that they built back in 2008 or even earlier, it runs a simulation where it will figure out how the stock market will perform when there is a war, there's a famine, there's some kind of crisis with certain governments, whatever. So it will give them the multiverse of how will the stock perform. And they even loaned it to the US government to navigate from their disaster economic policy in 2008. So that's what they're worth now, 13 to 14 trillion.
But that's not all they do now. Because that same software, not only does it predicts and does all that stuff, they also use the same software to risk assess people for mortgage. Or businesses that wants to borrow money, they use the same software. So that software now is the basic model of US when you want to borrow money, So they use that to basically assess.
So
is it dangerous
probably
investment
their
or
little AI model has been telling the current U.S. government that perhaps we should end the war, declare victory, and end the war in Iran because things are not going well.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. AI cannot predict the Orange Man because one day he's saying, yeah, our Navy ships escorted through the Strait of Hormuz, then the stock market shut up. That's today, March 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 hours later, the U.S. Navy says, we haven't even started that. The stock market started crashing.
Yes.
So,
and then this is the guy who says, yeah, it was one of Iran's Tomahawk missiles that blew up their own children's school. Uh-huh.
Well, yeah.
Okay, that guy. And then his other ministers or secretaries, they call them in the States, it's not our fault. Israel told us to do this. So they're already looking for a boogeyman.
Yeah. But just to give a breakdown on how much money BlackRock makes, they make 1 million a second. That's crazy. A second they make $1 million.
You see, it's actually not rocket science what they're doing. There was a company many years ago in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that was running Hutchinson Whampoa was called the Taipan of Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically following that model. And I remember speaking to the head of AGF funds here in Canada. He was my honorary colonel in my regiment. So we chatted a bit about this, and he could never understand. He went to China and he was doing business there, and he could not understand how this company that he was working with owned something that had absolutely no relationship to what they were building, right? And they were following the Hutchinson Whampoa model, is that the economy is cyclical, right? But the thing is, not everything is in the same cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So what is up today over here, this is down. Mm-hmm. But when this goes down, this goes up.
Yeah.
And what Hutchinson Whampoa's plan was, and what some of these Chinese state enterprises were doing, is they were following the same model. You own a spectrum.
Mm.
So no matter what happens, so let's say you want 10% of that per annum.
Yeah.
No matter what. If you do the spectrum, you'll probably wind up with your 10% per annum no matter what. You could be a Great Depression, but pencils will sell, right? Pencils, because they're cheap and they'll sell. And that gives you your 10%, right?
Yeah.
And that's their mentality. And what BlackRock is probably doing is probably using AI, but to follow the same model. Own so much stuff that no matter what happens, they generate X amount of revenue per annum.
Sure, that makes sense for sure.
When you said about the 10%, so BlackRock used to be, before Blackstone existed, and then they kind of like parted ways.
Because a rock is bigger than a stone, friend.
Exactly. You can thank Larry Fink again with that beautiful name.
Maybe he's not that bad as you think he is, guys.
I believe.
Still listen to Dr. Evil.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how much money that they own and they move through, right? Like it's not someone that, if you were to say, or if your bank, like CIBC is a huge bank, right? If your bank comes up and say, be like, hey, we do not recommend this stock. You're like, I'll think about this.
Yeah.
Versus someone that's valued managing $14 trillion tells you, be like, hey, this is bad. Now you're not just warning, now we're creating chaos. So that's why these people are more influential and impactful off the economy versus companies, right?
I mean, let's be honest, right? At the end of the day, would you listen to someone off the street who looks like he's not had a shower in 8 years, or to another guy that's made money,
yes, we would.
Has a proven track record, right?
Well, when you're BlackRock, you can bend the spoon, as they say, right?
Sure.
So they'll turn around and they'll bet against the stock on purpose while they've already shorted it.
Yeah.
To clean up.
Blackstone, when that company existed, that's when they started the ETF, right? Like you don't have to own one company of like 10%. Mm-hmm. You can own multiple companies at the same time for a lower profit. And pension funds and all those stuff, that's the model that they built on, right? So he did build the economy. Their model is pretty simple, other than like acquiring companies and holding stakes. They believe in the long-term play, which is why most people push towards them, including the U.S. government too. So all they do is they buy a little bit of everything, like Mark said, make sure you're able to manage your assets, the entirety of it, and so you can be profitable It's be a little bit profitable, but you're still on the profit versus negative.
Yeah.
The reason being that was before he went into Blackstone, he used to work for a company, and in one quarter he lost $100 million in 1985 or 86, something like that.
And he created the AI.
Yeah, and those are the reason that happens that led to
because the AI can manage a wide spectrum as opposed to 100 people. So you can't watch it all the time.
In the end of the day, it sounds like a smart dude that said, let's harness the AI, make money. I mean, is he Dr. Evil or evil in that sense? It's just, to me, it just sounds like a bunch of rich guys want to be rich. And
yeah,
that's
but they
like
want to be richer and take everything you have. That's the difference.
I mean,
with him, I would say that he's, with his role in WEF, I don't think he is fully as equal in level of like Klaus Schwab and all those guys. He's just stepping in, trying to navigate the ship to where it's going. You also have to realize your CEO is gone and Klaus Schwab, he's gone. So now it's almost a leadership change within, right? Like we all know like how much a country changes in leadership. So if countries are looking out to these guys and there's a change within, we'll see in the foreseeable future like which direction it's leading to.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a crazy topic, and hopefully, people take more interest in this, right? Like, obviously, I looked into this for a few things. Am I sold on, are they the conspiracy theorists? I feel like they're a bunch of tree huggers that are trying to do good, but not really. They're just trying to control the economy in the sense that they just want to make more money. For me, I feel personally. Yeah.
Logo of every corporation.
Yeah, but they want to control you. That's the difference.
It's just another corporation for me, and I don't know why people put a lot of stock into Davos. Like all these millionaires, like you said, they flew in. Trudeau, he's not a millionaire that I know of.
Yes, he is.
Is he?
Garment.
First of all, he had the Trudeau Foundation, which a bunch of governments gave millions of dollars to.
Yeah.
Plus, he has whatever his daddy skimmed and hid in the Caribbean, a couple $100 million there from defense contracts and Air Canada.
Hey, remember the Panama Papers? Boy, nothing happened out of that, you guys?
Nobody in this country got burned for anything.
We will do an internal investigation, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
So, in the end of the day, yeah, it's some things that they're trying to stick on the wall and see what sticks is my thing. But people should take definitely more interest into why are all these millionaires, billionaires flying to Switzerland, the most expensive country to do anything. Why not go to a country that needs the money?
But even within the WEF, you have these guys that are subgroups, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the Bilderberger group, right? Another group of conspiracy guys that are doing their own thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the guys that wear capes and hoods in California. What are they? The
Ku Klux Klan?
No.
Capes and hoods. That's all I know.
Those are idiots. It's for idiots. But no, they worship Baal or some demon thing, and in the forest down there. Something.
The satanic rituals.
You know what I'm talking about.
Once
they're in California, and all these rich dudes go down there, and they say, "Well, it's just a big party." And stuff has come out of there. First of all, who's down there? And what are they up to?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Yeah.
That's something that we will talk about in the future as well. That's another crazy stuff that...
And cults. So just telling you about cults in general, beside these other little weird ones, they're all over, okay? They really are. Remember Solar Temple?
No.
Okay, it was a crazy cult out of Switzerland, and all the senior leadership of Hydro-Quebec were part of the Solar Temple. The guys in Switzerland off themselves.
I feel like...
But it's like these groups, subgroups, like within, so you have the WEF, which is where they all amalgamate and they all do stuff. And then they go off to do their own little thing and whatever they are. Some are just routine criminals and hoods and Ponzi scammers, right?
Yeah.
Right? And other guys actually are strange. I will just leave it at that because they do their own thing.
Yeah.
As long as they're not hurting anybody, I don't care. But when it starts to affect us, it's an issue.
I think it's at this point, it's still how you interpret the rules as. Like, how do you see it? Like, people have their own kind of sense of making what it is when it comes to government so far. So that's why I think it's not that much of people are not worried about what WEF does and such.
Yeah. But
as time goes on, let's see.
Fair enough. It's a pretty good topic that we talked about here. And I'll leave the last few words, topics that you want to say, or last whatever saying you want to say. And then I'll end it with what I think. You guys were trying to convince me, but yeah, I'll leave it to you guys to have your last words, and then yeah.
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I heard that. So yeah, well, Pal, we'll start off with you. Your closing arguments about this whole thing.
Yeah, I'd say mainly about WEF. Like at the end of the day, it's not a government-owned entity, and they're not elected by people. It's just like a closer. It's like when you run for a election leader party race. Like you kind of give membership to certain people, and then you're like, hey, we just pick our own leader, and then now we'll just push these rules into countries that's not even within the 5-mile radius. So yeah.
And Mark, your closing statements about this whole thing.
But the WEF,
WEF, BlackRock together. Yeah,
they're together now. They're together. When it was under Dr. Evil, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
they definitely were agenda driven, and it was not to our benefit. Let's put it that way. It was to their benefit. They just love control. They're just control freaks, right? And then they want to turn us into like one guy in he was a famous economist from Greece. And he said he called it techno-feudalism. And that's what they were driving for, is techno-feudalism. And I agree with that guy.
Okay.
And BlackRock was a mechanism to carry it out, right? Because it's at the hip, joined at the hip. Now, the fact that the main ideologues are gone, maybe BlackRock will become more business-oriented and less fanatical on the other end. If that's so, then it's not bad, or as bad as it could be. But if he's a zealot under a veil, then we're going to have even more problems, because now he actually has the resources to force things through.
Fair enough. End of the day, for me, I feel personally, there is some crazy stuff happening. It feels like a rich boys club getting together, trying to promote certain things. Is it to control us? I feel like it's more about creating profits for themselves again. I can't speak more about BlackRock. I feel like WEF is trying to throw shit out there that sticks. I know the Sri Lanka part and all that. And hopefully people take more interest in all of this and just not leave it to the rich boys club that flies to Switzerland and figure things out. And hopefully people do research into this,
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we'll end it for today here.
I have one last comment.
Well, Mark will have one last comment, and then we'll end.
I am going to quote somebody, a comedian who's passed on. It's a big club, and we ain't in it.
100%, and I agree with you on that. It's the rich boys club that we ain't in. So till we win a Lotto Max or 649, maybe then we can get in. But yeah, guys, we'll end it here today. You let us know in the comment section what do you guys think about this. And what are other topics you want us to discuss? Maybe we might talk about aliens. I truly love that topic. You maybe don't, but me and Mark really love that stuff. But yeah, guys, make sure cartels. It's a big topic in Mexico. Can't go to an all-inclusive nowadays.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, leave us a comment, like, subscribe in your favorite platforms, or if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Let us know how we're doing. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. I'm Elton.
I'm Mark.
And Pal.
Thanks for watching the DSP Perspective, guys. Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
That wraps up this week's Perspective. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this wide-ranging discussion, please subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a rating. Tell a friend if you liked what you heard. We'll see you next time on the DSP Perspective.